Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing in a vehicle that some within the community are calling the worst tier 8 premium tank of all time. It is the ELC EVEN 90. Now I have done a full preview or review of this tank, whatever you want to call it, but I hasten to add that that gameplay was from the Chinese server, and playing on the Chinese server for the first time is a novelty within itself. So many bots, so many gold type 59s, lots of different tanks with fairly different statistics. Funnily enough, a vehicle like the 112 I believe has 300mm of heat pen. Not that it would really matter shooting at this tank because it has absolutely no armor. Now if you want to know the full statistics of this tank, I thoroughly recommend you go and check out that preview or review, but just in a nutshell, the 30-second version. Tank has no armor, 15mm at the front, 10 at the side, will get overmatched by all armor piercing round, and the vehicle has one of the worst DPMs of any high tier vehicle, or the worst DPM of any high tier vehicle, 1131. To put that into perspective, this vehicle is doing half the DPM of an equal tiered premium tank like the Black Dog would be doing. And we're talking about some medium tanks and tank destroyers having tripled the DPM of this tank, and it will have to meet it. Now it does have a little autoloader, as we can see, but it takes so long to reload. We're talking about 30 seconds to reload 3 90mm caliber shells that do 220 damage with a decent amount of penetration, 175 on its standard rounds. But with 2.5 seconds delay between the shots, you reload for 30 seconds and then you spend 5 seconds after firing the first shot to be able to do up to 660 damage to your opponents, and then you're reloading again. Wow, I can see why some people are hating on this vehicle so much. But nevertheless, the difference between, or shall I say, let me go back a little bit. So I was talking about playing on the Chinese server, and obviously when I was playing on the Chinese server I didn't have very good skilled crews. I managed to get one of the female crew members from, I guess, the loot boxes. That sounds so weird to say female crew members inside of a loot box. Anyway, let's not go there. I'm not talking about Japanese girls anymore on this channel. My point is that I had a terrible crew on the Chinese server, and light tanks with terrible crews, I think it's probably one of the classes, the tank classes in the game that really does require a decent skilled crew, because concealment is so important on a light tank, and none so more than this. This vehicle actually has the best camo rating when moving of any high tier vehicle, and while I knew that was the case when I was doing my preview and review of the tank, I didn't know that you could get it up to about 45%. So we're talking about people needing pretty much about 400 meters view range to see you at like 210 meters. That's absolutely ludicrous. And if some tanks have, having 400 meters view range is quite reasonable in World of Tanks. Even some tank destroyers that you're going to be meeting, especially in a nice matchup like this, are going to have maybe like 370 meters view range, unless they have exceptionally skilled crews or they're using binoculars or coated optics or something. And they're not going to see you pretty much until you can see the whites of their eyes. And so that is one of the key strengths of this tank. But, of course, does the fact that it has that incredible camo rating make up for the abysmal gun performance outside of it having like this tiny little autoloader? Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, aiming. You have to literally stop probably midway through part of your reload just to be able to even hope to be able to hit the target with 0.38 accuracy. And the 2.9 seconds aim time on this tank is just absolutely abysmal, even if you are using vertical stabilizers on the vehicle. And so, gosh, another thing I should highlight about this tank is that while it can go at 70, it's just a little bit awkward because it doesn't really have the power to weight to be able to get up there as well, just under 24 power to weight ratio. And so that means really the ELC EVEN 90, I was about to call it the AMX, no, it's the EVEN 90. Is it a terrible tank? I'm completely undecided. I'm still undecided. I guess spoilers for this review. Now, when you do get into scenarios like this, where you've got a long time to work the ridge lines, and I'd like to highlight that a lot of games in World of Tanks have already ended by now. I'm not sure how you feel, but at least on the European server for me, games seem to be getting faster and faster. Is that because players are getting more and more skilled, or is that just because of the new template matchmaker system? I guess you have to theory craft it, and that's more of a discussion for another time. But my point is that with games, at least for me, appearing to get faster and faster, can you still play tanks that rely on should we say, lasting for a while in the game to do any kind of reasonable amount of damage because they have abysmal DPM. So one into the AMX 1375. Will we hit the second one? No, not quite. My shell velocity a little bit too poor there, and I try and fire one at his turret. And am I going to regret that? Well, we're going to have to find out because we're down by 2 tanks, and I just let the tier 7 tank destroyer on the enemy team stay alive. Nevertheless, I'm a higher tier tank destroyer. Surely I can go after him, right? Well, as long as he doesn't come after me. He probably doesn't know too much about this vehicle, or maybe he just didn't want to go after the M44. But I guess I should thank my lucky stars that he has actually run away to reload there. Otherwise, if it turned round and took advantage of the fact that I have that abysmal 30 seconds reload, then I might have been in a bit of trouble. But luckily for me, he stayed there. I guess he waited for me to come around the corner. I managed to get the jump on him, and we shut him down. Now, this is an important moment coming up. Remember what I was saying about lower tiered vehicles with very poor view range, or even equal and higher tiered vehicles with poor view range? This Yak Panther is what? 200 meters away. Hasn't seen me. Just hasn't seen me. And that's what the difference between having no concealment on your crew and having full concealment on your crew will mean. Now, of course, when I was doing my tank review, I guess some of you would like for me to review the vehicles as if I had no crew skills. But I think when they're premium tanks, you're going to have a skilled crew. I'm not saying it because you can take the crew off any of your French auto-loading light tanks or even your non-auto-loading light tanks like the ELC AMX or more likely the AMX 13105 and put them in this vehicle. Oh man, that accuracy and that aim time. We can't even unload at the 2.5 seconds. Delay between the shots, the intra-clip reload that this tank has because of that terrible aim time. And I'd hasten to say, this is now with a perfect crew. I am running Brothers in Arms, I'm using a premium consumable at the bottom, I've got a full plethora of equipment on the tank, unlike I had on the Chinese server. And it does make a real big difference in this tank. I feel like when you do get this thing fully pimped, that it starts to become reasonably usable. This T-44-100, he hasn't seen us. He's 235 meters away, and he doesn't see us until we shoot. That is what 45% camo rating looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there are very few tanks at high tier that kind of can do that. One of them will be the T-100 LT. I believe that's packing 42% camo. That's a tier 10 Soviet light tank, of course. And also the T-92 that went into the game recently, I believe, has got 38. But this just takes it up a notch. I think you're going up from a 38 cap up to a 45 or above cap. And that can make a real big difference. At 200 meters, that's the difference between being spotted, I guess, at 200 or 215 meters. That's 7% camo. So the T-44-100 prepared for us. Doesn't look like he racks quite as well as us. And I knew that while the tank doesn't have excellent DPM, it still does have an autoloader, and so when you can go in and pick up those assassinations against vehicles when they are on low amounts of hit points, or if they're on maybe like 400 hit points, you do feel a little bit safe. And if they have very low hit points, then you don't mind risking the first shot, because if you have to fully aim the second or third, well, it's going to be okay. So the AT-15 can't actually spot us at 420 meters view range here. He's not very likely to be using coated optics. He's going to be using binoculars. Will we be able to shoot the Hummel? Well, this is where this tank is frustrating. If in every other tier 8 light tank, I feel like I might have been able to reload here to have another go at the AT-15. That's just simply not the case in this tank. But by locking him down and just being the threat with 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the game, I can just be prepared to snipe him in the side. I haven't fired a premium round so far this game. Is this going to be my first? Yes, it is. And now I actually might have to hit his weak point on top of the tank to be able to get him. Not very likely to happen with that .38 accuracy, but because he turned his attention to me, that allows the T-71DA to go in and finish him off. Next up, I'm playing on Muravanka, in my opinion, one of the top 3 light tank maps in the game. Well, maybe top 4. Let's think about it. In my opinion, it goes Prokhorovka, Malinovka, yeah, maybe Muravanka and Lakeville. I think both of those are combined. You've got lovely opportunities on both of those maps. So what am I going to do in the even 90 at the start of this? Well, I'm going to race my way into the bush and try and spot out. Now, you'll notice that I'm using coated optics on this tank, and if you do have an exceptionally skilled crew and coated optics and something like a premium consumable and vents, then I think you can get away with it. However, for any of you out there that maybe don't have a... I had totally forgot about ammo racking that Tiger there. Wow, okay. Yeah, 1,131 DPM, but I guess you just got to ammo rack things, guys, right? If you do decide to buy this tank, yeah, it is obviously completely balanced because you're going to ammo rack something occasionally with the autoloader, yeah? No. But as I was talking before, I was completely blown away by that ammo rack, and I think he was too. Oh gosh, let's not go. Okay, finish off the A44 quickly. Okay, there you go. First one misses, second one done. But yeah, what I was trying to say is that I think that while I'm playing this vehicle as a bit more of an active scout, I can imagine this tank might do very well with binoculars, even without an exceptionally skilled crew. Because if you manage to get into a bush, you've got the camera rating to be able to get there, and then if you get there early with the 70 km/h top speed limit, then I guess you could do very well from that position. The fact that the tank is so tiny means that it could probably hide in bushes that other vehicles couldn't, and it could probably make approaches and use low-lying bushes to mask its approach on the way there as well. I can just imagine what this thing would do inside a bush on Prokhorovka, for example, with binoculars. An absolute little terror. There we go. And that's where this tank does feel nice. I saw that the T-29 was in my damage range. He had 600 hit points, and I know that I'm going to do 660 unless I low roll each of my shells as I was doing, and so I should be able to finish him off. But right now it's just a case of just advancing, using my view range, just spotting for my team. Managed to pick up 3 kills, although I will highlight that unless we pulled off that 1,200 damage shot against the Tiger, we would be on 3 kills and 1,000 damage here, but still not a bad result by any means. Oh, look how hard it is to snipe in this tank with the awful aim time and accuracy. Maybe my shells aren't exactly precision based, but oh gosh, this thing is not a long range damage dealer, that's for sure. And I guess Wargaming have just done everything that they can to make sure this isn't a long range damage dealer. And I guess you'd be guessing from watching these 2 games that you've seen that it looks like the vehicle's pretty balanced. Well, I'm not sure if that's the case or if it's just that I'm having a lot of luck here. These were the first few games I played on the test account with a full plethora of crew skills. Or alternatively, if maybe I just have been getting good maps and good opportunities, and I do kind of know my positioning for my light tanks, but just look how much lead we have to give there. It's awful. The shell velocity on this tank is 760 meters a second. I wonder if that improves if you do fire APCR rounds on this tank. If I fire APCR rounds, it's still 950. That's just awful. When something like a T-92 light tank is easily going to be able to snipe at those ranges. So I guess this is what's just absolutely baffling me, and I still can't make up my mind about this tank, ladies and gentlemen. Sure, the ELC EVEN 90, arguably the best camera rating. Well, there's no argument about it. It has the best camera rating of any high-tier vehicle. You could also argue that this is kind of the best high-tier scout because of that, even though it has 380 meters view range. How much view range are you willing to sacrifice to be able to gain that much camera rating? Also, tiny profile, able to race into position with 70 km/h top speed limit. So I think it's probably the better all-round scout than the T-92 LT, but definitely doesn't have the combat capacity of that tank. Now, whether it's going to be better than a Black Dog or not, no, I definitely don't think so. I think the Black Dog's just a monster. But then again, the Black Dog, apart from that 400 meters view range, isn't going to do very well with regards to its camera rating, so that's definitely something to take into account as well. But all in all, I don't think the vehicle dethrones the T100 LT. I just killed an SP1C that was in front of a Scorpion. Okay, where was that SP1C? I just have to have a quick look at that. Where was he? Where was he? Let's go over and find his wreck. How far in front of the Scorpion it was. Oh, that poor little lamb. I can't believe how unlucky this guy was. He's sitting in the bushes doing passive scouting, and my shell somehow hits him, even though I was shooting at a Scorpion that was all the way over here. Ladies and gentlemen, what are the chances of that? That poor little lamb. Oh my word. 2 crazy things happening in one replay. What is this? This isn't World of Tanks. You know, I'm not usually kind of a tinfoil hat person, but do you think Wargaming are just buffing my luck on the test accounts so I can make what statistically looks like the worst tier 8 premium of all time, like a good vehicle? I don't know. Look, don't get me wrong, I would never recommend this tank. I think this is an absolute... it's a tank that's never going to be consistent, I don't think. Sure, you're going to have some crazy moments of for fun and hilarity, but a lot of people buy premium tanks to be either good credit makers or alternatively to be good crew trainers. Now, I think this tank can make experience if you are an experienced light tank player, but I would never try and say that this is a good vehicle for everybody to pick up. I think if you're an experienced light tank player, you're going to know the positions and the capabilities of your tank and the enemy team to make this vehicle work, and then it might be capable of something exceptional. But I also feel that I would never recommend this tank to somebody who did not absolutely love playing light tanks or just wanted to play some absolutely ridiculous little troll of a vehicle to be able to pull off some things that frankly other tanks just are incapable of. But I'm done. I just don't know. You know what? For all of you who have been watching the channel for a long time, when have I been absolutely completely lost for words about a tank with a review? Usually it's all so clean cut and obvious, right? There is nothing obvious about this tank. I went into playing this test account on stream with this vehicle with bated breath. I just wanted to have terrible games and call this thing the worst piece of garbage that Wargaming have ever released. And then for some reason I had games like this. Our first result on Erlenberg Assault was a Top Gun 3,154 damage, 1,333 base experience points, and we didn't fire many premium rounds, so we make 87,000 credits profit. Next up on Muravanka, this time a patrol duty, a high caliber, and a Top Gun for 2,500 assistance and 4,500 regular damage, even if we were to take away the 1,200 bonus that we got for ammo racking that Tiger. That's still 3,300 damage in a decent game. I don't think I fired many if any premium rounds this game as well, so 130,000 credits profit. And while these are two of the better games that I had during my play session with the ELC EVEN 90 on the European server, there are another 2 ace tankers that I'm not showcasing, and even in the 3 defeats that we had, we still did at least a reasonable amount of damage for a tier 8 tank and some spotting. And so frankly, I'm stunned, I'm bewildered by this mysterious French vehicle. I'm the kind of person who depends on statistics, and there's just something about this tank that I can't quantify. And so ladies and gentlemen, I expect this tank is going to become a lot like Marmite. It looks like you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And so that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and let me know in the comments what you think about the ELC EVEN 90, and do you kind of agree with me that maybe exceptional crew kind of mitigate some of the weaknesses about this tank and even amplify some of its strengths, a lot like the concealment value? And do you think it looks absolutely great or utterly awful? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.